Welcome, Mark, to Metalarium Pages. It's a great pleasure to talk with you about The Eternal, this new album, Skinwalker, and more things related to the metal world in general. So we started by asking, so how are you? How was the band during the last years?
Well, personally, I'm doing pretty well. We've got our new album out in 2 weeks, so that's really, really exciting. It's our first album featuring Jan Reckberger and Nicholas Etelavori, who are both, well, Nicholas formerly of Amorphous and Jan, obviously the current drummer of Amorphous. So that's been a big shift for us having a new rhythm section. So yeah, it's very exciting.
Hmm. Thank you. So, talking about from this new Skinwalker, so the band returns for some more than like 6 years for yet from your last album, so waiting for
Yes.
the Idols Down. So why do you delay 8 years to release this album?
Well, six, I guess. I guess,
Sorry, six.
well, obviously we know COVID took place. So that knocked off a few years there. But essentially, this is our seventh album. And basically, after we finished our European tour in 2019, we basically found ourselves without a drummer. And we knew Jan. We were friends with Jan, so we reached out to Jan to play on the new record, and that was also when COVID kicked in. So the lockdown started at the start of 2020, and so things just took a bit of time. We were working completely remotely, and I guess within about a year into that process of back and forthing and still being in lockdowns, particularly that Australia was really locked down. We got Nicholas in the band because our former bass player left, and it just sort of took a while. By the time we were able to get together to mix the record, which was in 2022, late 2022, we of course had to look for a new record deal to release the record. We felt like we had something good and we didn't want to just release it. So the album's been finished for a while, actually, but it took us about a year to negotiate our deal with RPM, 10 months. And then, of course, waiting another 6 months for the record to come out. So it wasn't intentional 6 years. It just took a long time to get where we wanted to be with it.
Well, so, and just talking about the promotion process of this Skinwalker, what kind of promotion do you have for this new one? Because I saw that you will play in Europe, so some concerts there, in Australia also. So, what kind of plans do you have for this new one? Perhaps full tours in
Um,
Asia, Europe,
yeah,
video?
we would definitely love to tour this record. Obviously, we have to work out the logistics of having an international band now that we have two members living in Finland and two members living in Melbourne. So I get the feeling we're going to start proceedings of physical touring probably in Finland and sort of see how that kind of kicks off. And yeah, I've been looking at some options in Australia as well. But obviously, we'd like to do the rest of Europe as well. And I'd love to do South America as well. But you don't know. I guess we're at such an early stage with the new deal and the new label and the promotion behind the record. It's still kind of all new territory. We don't know where it's heading yet, but we do know we will play live sooner than later.
Okay, okay. Well, many bands and musicians see each album as a child, each one special in its own way. It's a bit of cliche to say that each new release is its band's best, but you
Yeah.
consider this new album is your best work to date? If so, what are the reasons that you make this album your best?
Look, there's things I like about different records that we've done. Absolutely. I mean, I've been a primary songwriter, so they're all my children, all 100 or so songs that I've worked on with this band. I guess what is kind of cool about this record is the way that the four of the current members gel. I think most people that have heard the record kind of say it's a bit of a step up from our previous work, and I think that just has to do with how the lineup gels together. So I think I guess, you know, really phenomenal is everyone's performance on this record. Also, it's our guitarist Richie's second record with us, and he's a phenomenal guitar player. So he's really lifted, you know, the solos and things like that. But, you know, having a rhythm section that spent 17 years playing together in Amorphous, I mean, they're phenomenally tight rhythm section and extremely professional. And not only that, but they also brought, being that I was the primary songwriter for such a long period of time, to have other people come in that are of a very high caliber and collaborate on the music, I think it's just given the music a new dimension that maybe it didn't have. I mean, if you look back at songwriting credits from earlier Eternal records, you know, I am the songwriter. So to have everyone contributing has added a new flavor to the sound, and I think a new maturity and professionalism. So I think this album's a landmark in that respect, that it's lifting the band to maybe a different echelon or something like that.
Okay, interesting. Interesting. Choosing a lead single and track order for an album is crucial today's age, where people have for sure attention from spans. So how does the Eternal approach to this?
We approached that by having a 10-minute song at the start of the record. we if we want to write a long song, we write a long song. If we want to write a short song, we write a short song. We don't really you know, consider that. I mean, I know the label would probably like us to consider the length of the songs a little bit more. But you know, the album opens with Abandoned by Hope, which is 10 minutes, which we'd cut down from 13 or 14 minutes. So I think if you can keep the song interesting, the length doesn't really matter. So we don't think, oh, we need a 30-second song for TikTok, because we're all older. We're all old men. So, you know, we're all, you know, 48 and plus. So, you know, we want to make music that we like to listen to, and we hope our potential fans have the attention span for longer stuff. Not that everything is long. We have some 4 and 5 minute songs, but the album's quite the journey as far as you know, the length of songs go, I guess.
Okay. In the bands this last 2023, you accomplished 30 years of existence. You called Cryptal Darkness. So you have been through a lot for the music since that era. So what has been the biggest learning experience for you guys as a band since there to now?
Well, I guess if you want to talk about Cryptal Darkness, which is a long time ago, I guess I've learned, you know, and the various lineups. I'm the only continuation person from that period. I would say I've learned, at some point I had to learn that you can't do it for success, that you need to do it because you love it and because it's part of who you are. And the Eternal is part of who I am, and it's part of my expression. So I had to learn that regardless of whether we had a huge fan base or a big record label or whatever it is, that I had to do it because it was part of who I was. So that was a big challenge, because when you're young, you chase success and you want to be a rock star, and you want to, you know, go and play with lots of big bands and be a big band. And of course, we've done lots of touring and played with lots of big bands and done stuff like that. And we've had ups and we've had downs. And I think the hardest thing to come to terms with in a band is the downs, and how you keep going through that. And at some point I settled within myself that success with the Eternal was if I just kept making music and being true to myself. So that's, you know, and that's what I've learned, and that's why every album's kind of different, and that's why I don't make the sound of music that I made 30 years ago, because I want to make music that I like. So I've just learned to stay true to myself, I guess, and do it for the right reasons.
Awesome. So lyrically, about talking about this new album, what themes do you explore on this new album? Where does this inspiration come from, and why do you choose the name Skinwalker?
Okay, interesting. So I was very fascinated very early on with the concept. I didn't expect the album was going to be called Skinwalker, but I was very fascinated with the concept of the Navajo myth or story of the Skinwalker, which is a mythical kind of witch doctor that changes shape and presents itself in different ways. I like this idea of something not being quite right and that someone would present themselves differently than they really are. So I took that as a metaphor. I'm not, when we're just singing about Skinwalker or whatever, we're not singing about the original meaning of it. I guess, during that period of COVID, I went and before and after, I had some quite, I guess, difficult relationships in my life, and I found myself dealing with some narcissistic personalities that were very much there to kind of take all of your energy and spit you out again. And that Skinwalker thing popped into my head about the emotional kind of vampire, the thing that sucks you dry and sort of leaves you the shell of what you were. And I use that as a metaphor for I guess people in your life that don't present themselves as they really are. And that was a tough learning period for me. So that lyrically carries through the whole album. I didn't expect it to be a concept album, but I went through a lot of loss in that period. I went through a lot of changes in my life, and I learned to understand and to not be so trusting of everyone that came into my life. So that's kind of, I guess, the overall theme. The Skinwalker represents someone that doesn't present themselves in your life as they really are, and they're there to do you harm.
Okay, awesome, interesting concept about this new album. So, being a band with a varied sound, how do you see the issue of the labels? Fans and the media always try to label the bands and start playing it with words like symphonic, black, death, trash, progressive. I don't know, a lot of labels now is putting. So, how do you describe your sound yourselves, especially in this new Skinwalker?
Well, I guess it's got a lot of different things. And the Eternal probably started very early. And obviously you've addressed my older band, which was a Doom band, Cryptal Darkness. And we were into, the Eternal kind of started as this gothic Doom band, I guess, but very, very melodic. We've always been very melodic. So, very early on, we were categorized as melodic gothic Doom metal, but we were never purely Doom because I have broad taste in music. So I think that, that's some bands do really well who don't experiment with them sound and just do the same thing each record. They build a fan base, but I didn't do that. I guess I experimented with rock. I experimented with prog rock, prog metal, and all of these different things that I enjoyed, with still the overarching my voice, the melody of my voice and the way I write melodies. But every album, I guess, has had different things. I mean, the last album was a very doomy affair with progressive elements, and I think we've taken that a step further. As people, I'm still into kind of darker music, but we're also into a lot of prog rock and stuff like that. We're into, me and Jan are hanging out, we're listening to Rainbow all the time and shit like that, So and Porcupine Tree, and we're very inspired by music producers like Steven Wilson, being that we are the producers of our own music. So I guess, you could describe the Eternal as melodic dark metal with progressive doom and gothic elements.
Okay. Okay. Okay, you've been around for more than 20 years, and you already have more than 6 albums. So what inspired you to create new music and bet on the new releases in a digital age when you have hundreds of bands releasing albums every week? So there is a lot of competition. So do you feel like you have competed with a lot of bands? What advice you like to inspiring new musicians?
I mean, I guess there comes a point when you're young and you're hungry and you're you want to take over the world. And then you cross an age where you're like, well, shit, I didn't take over the world yet. So you're like, you start to look at music differently, and I just do it once again, as I said earlier, because it's part of who I am. I have my own recording studio. I'm a sound engineer, so I don't have to go to pay a recording studio to make records. That's the first thing that makes it really easy. So it's really just a creative outlet. If I was to try and compete with the talent in 25-year-old bands now, I mean, from just a sheer technical standpoint, I don't know if I can. But so if you take that competitive part out of it and just go, I need to make this because I need to express myself, then all the pressure is gone. I didn't know when I was writing this album that we were going to sign to RPM, which I guess is perceivably a big label. I was still writing it as someone that was working with a small Finnish label, and I was not expecting anything to be different about that. So yeah, what inspires me to make the music? Because I have to. It's in my blood. I have to keep making music. I'll keep making eternal music, even when no one cares.
Okay, okay. Well, I remember when I hear for the first time The Eternal, it was with your first album, The Summer Light of Isolation.
Wow. Wow.
I received that album as a promo from Firebox Records, remember, with Swallow the Sun and my Mar de Grises, great bands, by the way. So compared with compared to the that days, uh, how do you see this scene these days compared to 2004 when you released it for the first time, The Summer Light of Isolation?
Well, I guess it was far more grassroots back then. I mean, we signed our first deal with Firebox, which was great. It was a record company from another country, and that was exciting. We were all Australian members at the time. I mean, that is the reason I've been to Finland so many times and have Finnish band members. That moment led to this. So, but the difference, I guess, was, we weren't quite in the tape trading era, but we weren't quite in the peak of the digital revolution yet. So, you got a promo CD probably. So, there was still this hard copy promos. There was still, particularly on that first album, there was still a grassroots kind of press printed thing taking place, and we did a tour to follow with that. And I think the market was less saturated 20 years ago than it is now. Everyone can get a Scarlett interface and plug their guitar into it now and release something. I think the digital revolution has filled the market with a lot more music, great and not so great. And I come from tape trading, man. I was there in the 90s where people would send something to your PO box and, do that kind of stuff with my old band, Cryptal Darkness. So things have changed a great deal. And I think a big thing for us that we've had to adapt to with RPM is our need for digital presence. I think one thing that really held the Eternal back was that we were not great at presenting ourselves in the internet, because we are a bit old school. So in that way of understanding how to market ourselves. So we've done a lot of work on that, and we are still working on it. But it's changed. Your value in the marketplace is down to digital metrics a lot more than it was in the early 2000s, I think, anyway. So there's been a big change. Obviously, the amount of money you can make has changed as well. Streaming doesn't pay very much.
Well, yeah. Well, talking about these aspects, so and we are very close to this interview, Mark. As a musician, how do you deal with the issue of technology in an era where there are thousands of artists releasing new albums in a digital platform to reach over the people, and also with this aspect of releasing singles by the digital platforms? So, how do you see the advancements of the artificial intelligence and impact and it is impact on the music? So do you see yourself using this tool on the future, composing, recording music, or designing album art or videos for the Eternal?
me and Jan talk about AI quite a lot. Every member of the Eternal has a recording studio. We are all, one good thing we are at digitally is recording. We're up to date with our digital recording technology, and I would just say that we are embracing it. We're not afraid of it. So, you know, there's some, like, Jan's a big fan of Logic, and we do a lot of our demos in Logic, and there's some new AI features, and we're interested to explore them. We don't want AI to write our music for us, but if it can help us generate new ideas and move in new directions, then we're not afraid of it, you know. So we embrace it.
Okay. Okay, now, as I mentioned, we're one of the last questions for this interview, and we're very close into this interview, Mark. So I'm talking about a topic that changed the perspective of understanding metal worldwide. It is the social networks now. As you know today, thanks to this media, metal became more understandable and comprehensible for a lot of people, and even lost the sense of impact, fear, or mystery that it had during the 70s, 80s, and 90s. When you talk about perhaps brujeria, and you believe that they were people that they were narco-satanics people, or talking about King Diamond was thinking that live in a castle, or Bruce Dickinson Peace One Something with the lyrics, or Twisted Sister going to the trials. So a lot of things happened for the metal at that time because it was something very different.
Yes.
Or who knows about this aspect. Now, now there's no mystery or curiosity that metal gave you on a general level. So what is your point of view about this move away from the fear, mystery, or curiosity that the metal had before, and now that everything is comprehensible thanks to the social media?
I think that's a great question. I miss the mystery. I miss that mystery. Like, I used to buy records when I was a kid, and I buy records again now as an adult. But you know, that mystery of like looking at that record cover and going, I wonder if this person lives in a castle. You know, like, what do they do? I don't know anything about them. Like King Diamond, you know, I mean, for fuck's sake, that was pure evil on an album cover. You know what I mean? Like, it was full of mystery. Now I can go to King Diamond's Facebook page, you know, and some of the mystery is gone. And in a way, I think it detracts from the music, because we need to become social media marketers as well as musicians. You know, at one point you could just focus on making music. Now you have to entertain people with videos and let them into your world, and that does take away some of the mystery, you know. So that's a bit sad, and it's sad that some people may never get to experience that. I lived in that time when it was a mystery, you know, and that was a wonderful time. You know, I heard Candlemass when I was like 13 years old. I was like, what the fuck is this? Swedish, what is Sweden? What is this guy dressed up like a monk? This is mysterious, right? And now that mystery's gone. So yeah, I feel sad. And also you know, it is a bit distracting having to spend so much of your time marketing yourself and wondering about metrics and letting people into your life, when it's kind of part of marketing music now. And you know, I don't think it suits everyone, and there's definitely days where I don't want us to do a Facebook post, but you know, we have to, or an Instagram post, you know. And we're really sort of private guys, so it is challenging to have to be part of this modern world, but it is what it is. I don't think we can go back, you know, but I do romanticize those times of mystery, I guess.
Yeah, me too, me too.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
well, well, Mark, we come to sad moment of this interview. I hope you enjoyed this interview as I did, and thank you very much
Yeah.
for your time. This Skinwalker is a tremendous album from the albums as usually, so maybe you have something to add to your Latin fans and obviously Metallarium followers.
I appreciate the interview. I appreciate if anyone takes the time to check out our new album Skinwalker. I really hope we can bring the band to South America sometime. As far as we've been is Mexico before. So I'd really like the opportunity to go deeper and you know, experience the culture and meet some great people. So you know, thank you for your kind comments on the record, and hopefully you know, thank you to some of your listeners for taking a moment to check out what I have to say.